Hi, I'm Phoebe. I've been living with lupus since I was 16, and managing it has become second nature. A daily cocktail of immunosuppressants and anti-inflammatories keeps the flares under control, or at least it used to. I tossed back my morning pills with a grimace as my stepmother Diana sauntered into the kitchen. 3 years she's been married to my dad, and that fake smile still hasn't cracked. Morning, Phoebe? More pills? I don't know how you keep track of all those. 8 years of practice makes perfect. I tucked my pill organizer into my purse before she could comment further. My father, Martin, walked in and kissed Diana on the cheek. Morning, sweetheart. Then he noticed me. Hey, kiddo, how are you feeling today? Fine. The standard answer. Easier than explaining the joint pain that had been getting worse over the past few weeks. You look pale, Dad said, frowning. I'm always pale. Lupus patient, remember? Diana slid her arm around Dad's waist. She's fine, Martin. Stop worrying so much. That's how it always went. Dad showing momentary concern before Diana redirected his attention. I'd moved back home 6 months ago after my last bad flare left me drowning in medical bills. Dad insisted, and with his resources, it made sense. What didn't make sense was why I kept feeling worse instead of better. Later that day, I called my friend Ethan from the pharmacy where he worked. I don't get it. I'm taking everything exactly as prescribed, but I feel like garbage. Worse than last month. Maybe Dr. Reynolds needs to adjust your dosage, Ethan suggested. I just had it adjusted 2 months ago. This doesn't make sense. A week later, I was sitting at dinner pushing food around my plate. The joint pain had spread to my chest, making each breath a challenge. Not hungry again? Diana asked, eyebrow raised. Such a waste of good food. Leave her alone, Dad said half-heartedly. If she's not feeling well, I'm just saying her medication must cost a fortune, and it doesn't seem to be doing much good. I glared across the table. Because lupus is just so convenient for you, right? Girls, please, Dad sighed, the same way he always did when we clashed. The room started spinning as I stood to clear my plate. My fingers lost their grip, sending the dish crashing to the floor. For God's sake, Phoebe, Diana snapped. Sorry, I mumbled, but the word came out slurred. Something was seriously wrong. The kitchen tilted sideways, and I grabbed the counter. Phoebe? Dad's voice sounded far away. I don't feel... I couldn't finish the sentence as my knees buckled. I heard Diana's voice, oddly calm. Oh my God, Martin, call an ambulance. As darkness closed in, I caught a glimpse of Diana's face. Was that satisfaction in her eyes? My last coherent thought was that something wasn't adding up. Then everything went black as Dad caught me, shouting my name over and over, panic overtaking his usual composed demeanor. The last thing I heard was the sound of him frantically dialing 911. Beeping machines pulled me back to consciousness. White ceiling, hospital smell. My body felt like it had been hit by a truck. She's waking up, Dad said, his voice thick with worry. I tried to speak, but my throat was desert dry. A nurse handed me water while Dad hovered anxiously. What happened? I finally managed. You had a severe lupus flare. Your kidneys were starting to shut down. Dr. Reynolds walked in, clipboard in hand. I'd been seeing her since my diagnosis. Phoebe, you gave us quite a scare. Your blood work shows inflammation levels I haven't seen in you for years. But I've been taking everything exactly as prescribed. Dr. Reynolds frowned. That's what concerns me. Your medication levels in your bloodstream are practically non-existent. That's impossible, Dad interjected. I see her take those pills every morning. Well, something isn't adding up. Dr. Reynolds adjusted her glasses. I'd like to examine your current medication. Did anyone bring your pill organizer? Dad nodded. Diana dropped it off this morning. She wanted to be here, but she had that charity luncheon. Of course she did. Always the perfect stepmother in public. Later that afternoon, Ethan visited, bringing flowers and actual concern. Holy crap, Phoebe. You look terrible. Thanks. Just what every girl wants to hear. He sat on the edge of the bed. What did Dr. Reynolds say? I explained about the medication levels. Wait, so you're taking your meds, but they're not showing up in your system? Ethan frowned. That doesn't make sense unless... He trailed off, looking thoughtful. Unless what? Let me see your pills. I pointed to my bag. Ethan retrieved my pill organizer and examined the contents. These look right, but he hesitated. At the pharmacy, we sometimes get people trying to pass fake prescriptions. There are ways to test. You think my pills are fake? I don't know, but it's worth checking. I can take a few and run some basic tests. 2 days later, I was discharged. Ethan arrived at my house looking grim. We need to talk privately, he whispered. We slipped out to the garden, away from the house. Phoebe, those aren't your medications. They're sugar pills, made to look identical but completely useless. My blood ran cold. Are you sure? Absolutely positive. I tested them 3 different ways. But how? My prescriptions come directly from your pharmacy. Someone must be swapping them after I fill them? Ethan's expression darkened. Who has access to your medications here? The realization hit like a physical blow. Diana. Why would she? My father's money. If I'm gone, there's no one between her and the inheritance. That's insane! We need proof! Just then, my phone buzzed with a text from Diana. Dinner at 6. Don't be late. Ethan gripped my arm. Don't confront her yet, and don't take any more pills from that organizer. I brought you real ones. He handed me a small paper bag. We need solid evidence to take to the police. How do we get that? Cameras. I have some small ones from my security system. We'll catch her in the act. I nodded, fear mingling with determination. Let's do it. I'll tell her I'm going to organize my pills myself from now on. Make her nervous. Perfect. She'll try again, and we'll be ready. As we walked back toward the house, I saw Diana watching from an upstairs window. She quickly stepped back, but not before I caught the calculated look in her eyes. Tomorrow, Ethan whispered. We'll set everything up tomorrow. The next morning, Ethan arrived with a small backpack. Dad had already left for work, and Diana was at her yoga class, probably meeting her tennis instructor for more than just tennis. Got everything? I asked as we hurried up to my room. Ethan unpacked 3 tiny cameras. These are motion-activated and connect to your phone. We'll put one in your bedroom facing your dresser where you keep your meds, one in the bathroom medicine cabinet, and one in the kitchen. We worked quickly, hiding the cameras in unobtrusive spots, behind picture frames, tucked into potted plants. Ethan tested each one with his phone. Okay, now for phase 2. He produced an empty pill organizer identical to mine. We'll fill this with marked sugar pills. If she swaps them, we'll know. Won't she notice the marks? They're ultraviolet marks, only visible under this. He handed me a small UV flashlight. Check every night. After Ethan left, I placed the bait organizer prominently on my dresser and put the real medication in my purse. Then I loudly announced to Diana when she returned that I was organizing my week's pills. Need any help? Her voice was honey-sweet. No thanks. Dr. Reynolds wants me to handle it myself, part of my recovery plan. 2 days passed with nothing. Then, while cooking dinner, my phone buzzed with a motion alert. I watched live as Diana entered my room, went straight to my pill organizer, and swapped out Wednesday's pills with identical-looking ones from her pocket. Got you, I whispered, saving the video. That night, I checked the pills with the UV light. Just as Ethan predicted, the marks were gone. The next morning, I deliberately took the pills in front of her, noticing how she watched me with that slight smile. How are you feeling today, Phoebe? Concerned, actually, about my medication. Her smile faltered. Oh? Yeah, weird thing. Dr. Reynolds mentioned my medication levels were practically non-existent in my bloodstream, almost like I wasn't taking them at all. Diana busied herself with the coffee maker. How strange. Perhaps they're not working anymore. Or perhaps someone's been replacing them with sugar pills. The coffee mug slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor. What a ridiculous idea. Why would anyone do that? I don't know, Diana. Money? My father's inheritance? Her face hardened. Be careful with accusations, Phoebe. You're still recovering. Confusion is a symptom of your condition. I'm not confused. I have proof. What proof? Her voice had an edge now. I held up my phone. You, yesterday, tampering with my medication. Diana's transformation was instantaneous. The mask of concerned stepmother vanished. You little bitch, you think you're so clever. Why? Why try to kill me? Kill you? Please, I just wanted you sick enough to move out. Your father was perfectly fine before you moved back in with your endless medical drama. He's my father! And my husband! Do you have any idea what it's like living in your shadow? Poor Phoebe and her lupus. It's all he talks about. So you decided to make me sicker? You were supposed to think your condition was worsening and check yourself into a care facility. Diana stepped closer. Delete that video, now! Or what? Or I'll make sure the next pills you take really are your last. Accidents happen, Phoebe. People overdose all the time. I backed away. That sounds like a threat. It's a promise. No one will believe you anyway. It's my word against yours, and your father always takes my side. I smiled then. Actually, it's your word against yours. This entire conversation is being recorded, too. The color drained from Diana's face as I pulled out my phone, still recording. I'm calling the police now. And Dad, you wouldn't dare! I dialed 911, never taking my eyes off her. Watch me. Officer Garcia arrived with 2 other cops 20 minutes after my call. Diana had tried to leave, claiming she had an important appointment, but I blocked the door until they showed up. This is ridiculous. She's mentally unstable, Diana protested as Officer Garcia reviewed the videos on my phone. Ma'am, we have clear evidence of you tampering with prescription medication, followed by verbal threats. Diana's perfectly manicured nails dug into her palms. I want my lawyer. You'll have that opportunity at the station. Officer Garcia nodded to the other officers, who led Diana out in handcuffs. My hands were still shaking when Dad burst through the door an hour later. What the hell is going on? I got a call that Diana's been arrested. I wordlessly handed him my phone with the videos queued up. His face crumbled as he watched. My God. Phoebe, I had no idea. I never thought she would... You never thought, period. You brought that woman into our lives and chose her over me at every turn. That's not fair. I loved you both. She nearly killed me, Dad. And you were too blinded to notice. Dad sank onto the couch, head in his hands. I'll fix this. I'll make it right. You can't fix this. Some things can't be undone. The next few weeks were a blur of police statements and medical examinations. Dr. Reynolds documented everything, her testimony becoming crucial to the case. The deliberate withholding of life-sustaining medication constitutes attempted murder, the prosecutor explained during prep for the preliminary hearing. Dad tried repeatedly to reconcile. He showed up at my new apartment. I'd moved out the day after Diana's arrest, with flowers, apologies, even tears. Please, Phoebe, give me another chance. I didn't know. You should have known. You should have seen who she really was. I made a terrible mistake. You're my daughter, my only family. I stopped being your family when you chose her. Actions have consequences, Dad. The trial came 3 months later. Diana pleaded not guilty, her lawyer painting me as an attention-seeking daughter jealous of her stepmother. But the evidence was irrefutable. The videos, my hospital records, Ethan's testimony about the fake pills, Dr. Reynolds' expert opinion that withholding my medication could have been fatal. When the verdict came, guilty on all counts, Diana finally broke, screaming across the courtroom, "This is your fault! You've ruined everything!" No, Diana, you did that all by yourself. 8 years for attempted murder. It wouldn't bring back the trust I'd lost, but it was justice. Dad's reputation crumbled in the aftermath. Business partners distanced themselves. The scandal dominated local news for weeks. His company stock plummeted. I deserve it, he admitted during our last conversation. I failed you. I didn't disagree. 6 months later, I was having coffee with Ethan in my new place across town. How's the new medication regimen working? Great. Dr. Reynolds says my levels are perfect. Ethan smiled. And how are you, really? Getting there, Starting my own graphic design business was the best decision I ever made. Better than catching your wicked stepmother on camera? I laughed. A real laugh, something that had become possible again. I trusted the wrong people for too long. Now I know who really has my back. Ethan raised his mug. To taking your life back. I clinked my cup against his. And to never looking back. What would you have done in Phoebe's position? Should she have forgiven her father, or was she right to cut him out of her life completely? After all, he didn't directly harm her, but his blindness to Diana's true nature almost cost Phoebe her life. Where do you draw the line between family loyalty and self-protection? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Would you give someone a second chance after they enabled such toxic behavior? Or do some betrayals run too deep for reconciliation? If you enjoyed this revenge story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about overcoming toxic people and finding justice. New stories uploaded daily.